right, everybody. Welcome to WaveStreet Studios. This is our second Creative Mornings, and it already feels like our, 25th or something. So please give yourselves a round of applause for being here. My name is Danny, and we started this to help connect the creative and sort of innovation community in the area, the entrepreneurial community. I think we all can agree that it's a little bit fragmented, and there are different sort of points of fragmentation. Pacific Grove is fragmented from Salinas, and different parts of Big Sur are fragmented, right? Different constituencies. There's different generations of fragmentation, and in the creative community, for example, there's fragmentation between who has a storefront for a gallery and who is an independent, artist in a collective. There's fragmentation between individuals who have restaurants versus who are, entrepreneurs or working in farmers markets and things like that. And so a lot of the goal here was to create that connectivity. And we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't really know if we had found something that would be useful to people. And then we had, a lot of people show up last time, and then we had a lot more people show up this time. So I really appreciate it, and I'm really humbled by it. I want to talk a little bit about Creative Mornings, and then we're going to dive right in. Creative Mornings is a global organization. There are about 25,000 people who meet at events like this every month. There are over 200 chapters, and as I mentioned last time, there are 3 in the Ukraine. Just kind of gives you a sense of like this idea of finding your people, of reducing fragmentation it's a global phenomenon. I think we know that. We understand the idea that the challenges maybe that we're facing or the problems we're trying to solve are not entirely unique, but we have our own challenges. And I think that the idea that we can come together locally and have nuanced conversations locally is really powerful. Our speakers, 90+% of them will be local. Occasionally, we might have someone who's like a mega boss who has a second home here. Well, we may do that once or twice. We know there are a few of those amazing people floating around, like the CEO of Instacart or the CTO of Meta or something like that. But by and large, we're going to have people from the community, and by and large, our speakers will then come and be participants. Happens that Catherine Styler is on a plane to Mexico City right now, but she will be here next time. And then Eli, who's our speaker this time, I met him last month. And so that idea of sort of a regenerative speaker constituency is really something that we value. Danny in the back, you can raise your hand, Danny. She recommended last time that I just share the Creative Mornings manifesto. I didn't write this. And you can kind of read as I'm going. I'm not going to read every word, but it just kind of gives you a sense that this is a organization that is principled and that has heritage. It's over 15 years old, and you can kind of see a little bit of how much thought has gone into kind of bringing these folks together. And so I'll let you just sort of read that as I click. And I've gotten to know Tina, who's the CEO and founder of Creative Mornings, and this is like a deeply principled, very passionate person who really, when you speak to her, you kind of feel like she started Creative Mornings yesterday. And even though it's been 15 years, you don't really get the sense that there's any sort of complicity. If anything, coming out of the pandemic, and I've had conversations with so many people in this room and maybe outside as well about sort of the restlessness we felt coming out of the pandemic and the need for community. And so I think we're clearly thinking that this is a solve for that. And these are some of those numbers. So the goal that when Mike Buffo, who's on camera, there he is in the back corner, Mike Buffo from House of 8 Media, when we started to think about this together, our goal was to lift the creative community, and then there's a lot of things that have come from that, and including kind of reducing friction, reducing fragmentation, and things like that. So follow us on Instagram. Jillian, who's one of our volunteers, is now managing our social media, so thank you, Jillian. And then that's our website. Briefly about me, my career's in tech, and I told the story last time that I've been someone who their entire life has sort of struggled with hobbies. I go from hobby to hobby, and I never really figured out what the right hobby was for me. And then I realized during the pandemic that my hobby is actually community. And when I acknowledged that to myself, I actually became a lot more peaceful as a person. And so this is what I love to do, is to sort of do things like this and bring people together. We have some partners, and they are providing different services to us. I'll just mention them right now. House of 8 Media is Mike and Brittany's company, and they are an extraordinary local video production team. And Mercer is a financial advisor that was here last time. And WaveStreet, this is WaveStreet Studios. It is an amazing venue if you haven't been here before. And Rhett and Judy and their family run this place. Rhett built this place with his bare hands, literally. So talk about like a regenerative concept, amazing. And then the ProWorks is a affiliate partner of ours. Alora's here, right in front, and John. And they've been kind of helping us build community. And a lot of people are here. There's a Venn diagram, I think, between CreativeMornings and ProWorks, because so many folks have affiliations with both. If you're interested in kind of thinking about how you can help support CreativeMornings, it's entirely volunteer-led. It's bootstrapped. And so you can snap a photo of that, or you can talk to me after. We're going to be thinking about how we can make this a sustaining situation right now, but right now it's totally bootstrapped. All right, so now we'll get into our program. So every single month, CreativeMornings has a theme, and the theme is chosen by a chapter around the world. And so this is something that I actually receive, and I know actually going into the end of next year what the themes are. And so when we think about who our speakers are going to be, we actually should I get to think about how it relates to this theme. And the theme basically is one word. In this case, it's simplicity. And then I receive an illustration from an illustrator in that particular community. And then I receive a short form description, a medium form description, a long form description. But simplicity means a lot to us, right? It can mean how we simplify our lives, how we simplify our work, how we simplify our art, how we simplify our relationships. And a lot of people come here seeking simplicity. This place does not want to be another Silicon Valley. It doesn't want to be another New York. We want to kind of think about how do we combine what's best about this area, but also move it forward. And so as we thought about the right speakers for this particular event, there are a lot of people here who are intertwining simplicity into their work. And now for our keynote. So Eli runs the Design Better podcast. He is a lecturer at Stanford's world-famous D.school, and he lives in Carmel Valley. Amazing, right? That we have these incredible people that we get to meet now. And so I'm just going to hand it off to Eli, who's going to talk about simplicity and design and other amazing things. And he's using a very cool non-Google Slides way to present, which I assume you know how to access at this point.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Michelle, also for the introduction and the breath work earlier. Fantastic. Looks like Lucas is going to help me out here. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, mic's all right. I'm a little quiet. My bio says I'm a lecturer. I don't really lecture that much at Stanford. I'm really more kind of one-on-one with the students. And especially since the pandemic, I haven't been doing a lot of speaking. So forgive me in advance if it's a little rough. I'm just getting back to this.
Doing great.
Thank you. Thankfully, I have friends in the audience, so that helps. Okay. All right. Designing for simplicity in the age of AI. The first thing I wanted to do, and thank you for this title, Danny. I think it's a good one to speak to, but I wanted to just go ahead and use some principles right off the bat. So anybody out there familiar with John Maeda? He's a designer, a technologist, used to run the MIT Media Lab. He was president of Rhode Island School of Design. Now he's been working for a string of technology companies, sort of at the intersection of design and AI. And he wrote this book called The Laws of Simplicity. Law number 1, reduce. So we're going to reduce the title. We're just going to call it Design and AI. There he is, John Maeda. Okay, what is design? Debbie Millman. Anybody know Debbie Millman? Okay, she's like amazing design guru, runs the longest running design podcast since kind of before podcasts were even a thing, early 2000s. She says, we take invisible ideas and make them tangible. Okay, that's cool. There's good old Steve Jobs. A lot of you probably know this quote, design's not just what it looks like, it's how it works. It's so simple, Paul Rand says, he's the guy behind the IBM logo back in the 60s. That's why it's so complicated. I actually don't know who this last guy is, but I did like the quote. Never trust a designer who doesn't wear a beard. Okay, but we're going to do our own definition. Design means creating an experience that someone else, even one person, will love. And that kind of harkens back to the opening with the CreativeMornings manifesto, right? Like making things, but I think, I didn't memorize it, but I think it said something about making things that you love. I think design is about making things that other people love. Sadly, I love my mom. Doesn't count if she loves it. Now, what is AI? I went to the source. I decided to ask ChatGPT. Can you define artificial intelligence? Not the scary kind. I mean, it's not really scary, is it? And see how nice I'm being? I figure it's nice to, it's not really that intelligent, but why not get in the habit of being nice? I'll just pull out, it spat out a bunch of stuff, and you can ask it yourself what artificial intelligence is. But for our purposes today, a field of computer science focusing on intelligent machines. We're focused on the narrow or weak AI, which is what we have access to at this point. And ChatGPT didn't mention this, but what I think is most interesting about AI right now is that it can be your creative co-pilot. I'm going to let John Maeda talk about this for just a second.
When we meet with AI, we need to understand that the AI is not the boss. Once we think it's the boss, then of course, we're supposed to be afraid. But the nice thing about this language of co-pilots is that co-pilot means there's a pilot. The pilot is the human. The co-pilot is the AI. If you do not keep that in mind, then it's like you're the victim.
So AI as a co-pilot. Throughout the beginning of this talk, we're going to get something that's more interactive in a minute here, but I wanted to just share a few little examples of things that I've been experimenting with and that you can experiment and play around with too. For me, that's the most fun, the funnest, is that a word, fun? Most fun part of this entire AI kind of revolution we're going forward is just that it's like a playground. You can do so many fun things. And so I experimented with AI, sort of, to create this little post-show discussion. There was some manual work involved in this, but so my podcast co-host, Aaron Walter, and I will sometimes do a little post-show discussion. So this is a very short excerpt from our chat with John Maeda.
So John Maeda is one of the few return guests that we've had. It's fascinating to me about John, just before we dive into some of the things that we discussed with him, is just how he constantly evolves.
I think it's interesting, one thing overall that, I don't know if it surprised me, but I found it kind of refreshing is just his optimism about the near-term future of AI and his optimistic outlook on how it will affect the careers of designers and product folks.
So you too can make yourself a slobbering, three-eyed alien with these kinds of tools. So I'll list, the tool I used in this case was Adobe Character Animator. I'll list the tools underneath if you ever, and there's a free version of that too, so you can play around with that. But what are we really, really here for today? We're here to meet, connect with other people, and then, be sparked, get inspired to do new creative things. I'm sorry I didn't give everybody a crown or connection. I wanted to keep it simple. She already had a crown. I guess it's kind of unfair that she's getting another one. But we're really the three main objectives here. Connect. I'm going to give you a chance to connect with one or two new people. That's why we're here, right? The bagels, coffee too. Spark. Learn about a handful of AI tools to design and make things easily. And a short bonus section, getting past a specific creative block. Anybody recently experienced a creative block? Come on, yeah, I'm sure. Pretty much anybody who's creative gets blocked. So I'm a podcaster, but I'm also an introvert, which is sort of a weird combination. The show goes out to, you typically get like around 40,000 downloads-ish per episode. Not everybody listens, but that's how many downloads. And then you get to send your thing out in the world, and you get reviews, right? And for me, this is, as an introvert, and probably most creative folks, getting your work out into public is one of the more daunting things. So I just want to share a few reviews here that we can talk about in a second. So 2 stars. I hope this is constructive. That's their name. I have to say this. The content is great, but the upspeak is really bad. I mean, like, what's she talking about? Is it really that bad? After the third episode, I had to turn it off. That actually was constructive. I mean, I've been trying to do less upspeak, and I can't control the guests, but sometimes they have upspeak. Nauseating, brains like pickles. Oh my gosh. Okay, that one was rough. Stretch to give intelligent or coherent answers. Okay, what can I say? Brains like pickles. Now this one was a mystery. This is about politics and social issues and a bit of design. The funny thing here is that my co-host and I very explicitly stay away from politics and social issues because we believe there should be some spaces where people don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. This is about design and creativity. Inevitably, there's like a little element of it here or there, but we actually, as people, my co-host and I, have very different viewpoints on a lot of these social issues. We're still friends. We still love each other. I have family that I have different, political and social opinions on. Still love them, still friends. So I think that one bothered me. I flagged it as abusive and had it removed. So that's the only one I've done that with. So I think a lot of us, well, at least speaking personally, we can get blocked in this mindset that there's these trolls out there, they're just waiting. We put something out in the world, and they're going to say something crappy about it. And I think we can kind of flip that a little bit. I'm going to play a clip from Seth Godin. Anyone familiar with Seth? Yeah, neat guy. Had him on the show a couple years ago, and he had some really, really good advice on this topic. There's Seth.
Well, here's the simplest hack. What if it was anonymous, right? What would happen if there was no chance you could get credit or blame? And if we begin with that, then we realize that the best design interventions don't have to have our names signed to them. If you get in that habit, then it becomes a generous act to actually sign your name so that the next person knows where to find you so you can do a generous act for them. Because the more leverage we have as generous actors, the more generosity we'll be able to share with other people.
So I think kind of flipping it, I mean, at least personally, there's a tendency to think of something creative like, and putting it out there as like a sort of a selfish thing, like, hey, look at me, look what I've done. But if people are getting something out of it, then you're really being generous by putting that creativity out there. And do it, if you want to, do it anonymously at first, so you build up some confidence, and then people will want to know where to find you. You do other things. The other thing that helps is actually like real people giving you feedback versus online brains like pickles type folks. So folks at Tesla wrote in. This was one of my favorites recently, where a young woman who actually started listening to our show back in high school chose to go into college and study design. I think for me, that's real impact. And then, we get stuff from all over the world. This Tresna was from Indonesia. And just to think that wow, the show's going out and it's actually helping people around the world, that keeps me going. Since we're talking about tools, like this picture here, many of you, I'm sure, have experimented with these different AI things. I just thought it'd be funny because I think one of our jobs as we collaborate with our AI co-pilots is essentially to become an editor, because they don't always come up with cool stuff like anime. Okay, yeah, I get with that. Rococo, interesting. And the eyes kind of tweaked. I don't know what's going on there. I call this one WTF, I don't quite understand. And this one, I think, Village Idiot. Well, that's actually not really AI, but I was last week with my friend Meredith, invited my wife and I and our kids to an apple picking thing. Anyway, one other principle as we get through this talk, Law 7, emotion. I think that's something that, as creatives, the more emotion we can bring into our storytelling, obviously, that's a big part of things, keeping things simple, but yet emotional. Okay, and then we're talking about kids and games and fun, and I just wanted to highlight another quick thing. I think I'm not a developer. I dabbled in it a little bit before, but the other thing that this revolution is opening up is that if you know even just a little bit, or you have a friend that's a developer, you can make stuff really, really easily. So this is a quick animation of me ChatGPT to build Pong in the browser, and it'll write the code for you. Then you just copy it. There's a tool called codepen.io. You can open that up, drop the code in there. You got Pong. You could ask it to make other games. I think just the fact that it's opening this door for so many of us who may have been intimidated by this kind of thing before is just amazing, and I really encourage you to give it a try. Okay, Danny, remind me what time do I have until? I'm good. Okay. This is going to be the start of our interactive portion. Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I was up at the D.school, and one of my friends, Seamus, he came up with this kind of warm-up activity, which I thought was really fun. It's you get a partner, you both think of a dish that you really love, that either it was just amazing, the taste of it, or it has some kind of emotional connection for you. And then you talk to your partner, and you come up with a food truck idea that merges those two dishes. Okay, so I was doing this, I think it was with Seamus actually. For my dish, I had this bouillabaisse that I make for my family that my mom, she gave me the recipe, so I have a very emotional connection to it. He picked this ice cream place, I think on the East Coast somewhere. So we came up with a food truck that serves a bouillabaisse with ice cream on it. I don't know if it'd do very well, but who knows? I mean, the picture looks nice, and that's a Dolly-generated image there. So we're going to do this. I want you to find a partner, ideally probably sitting next to you, but it'd be nice if it's somebody you don't know. And we're going to give you 2 minutes each to tell a story, and then 3 minutes to come up. Okay, anybody want to share your food truck idea? Yes. What's your name? Andrew.
We actually had 4 people we combined.
Oh.
So we had different bases that are like batters. We had we had different batters like bases. We had Mexican food. We had halo. We had pumpkin custard. We had vegetable muffins. So our idea is to have a bunch of different batters, sweet and savory, and then you can kind of put what you want in them.
Nice.
As you want to customize that. So.
Awesome. That sounds lovely.
International muffin food truck.
Way better than bouillabaisse ice cream. I mean, that's... Okay. Who else? Back there.
Hi, my name is Shal. Francisco and I came up with an idea. He loves chicken parmesan. He found it in college and never had it before, and it just brought him a lot of good memories. And I don't cook at all, but the only dish I make my children every year is a cranberry sauce that's completely sugar-free because I'm forced to make it just to keep my kids off sugar. And I make it with 4 different types of berries, and it is really kind of, because of that, you really kind of get the sourness of the cranberries, which we think would go much better. And he already had wanted to remove the sauce. He had wanted to make it with pesto or a different sauce. So instead, we're doing chicken with Parmesan, making the Parmesan super crispy on the outside of the chicken, and then doing it with the side of the cranberries on the side. So it's going to be a cranberry chicken Parmesan.
Delicious and healthy.
It will taste amazing together.
Beautiful. Let's do maybe one or two more. Anybody else?
So we were talking about the food that allows you to eat when there's not a whole lot of choice, or you're not cooking a lot, or you have dietary restrictions. So this would be a Mexicali Italia truck with corn tortillas, because those are gluten-free and lower in sodium, and some pasta, and both of those are kind of neutral. So you could have different toppings, and you could have sweet version for dessert, like a sweet spicy mole with the tortillas, or the classic Italian fillings with thin pasta. So that's where we started out, and you can add or subtract salt and spiciness.
Wonderful. Love it. One more. Let's do one more.
I feel like you guys are we have some plants back here.
Hi, my name is Niall, and This is Emily, and we actually know each other, so we had a little advantage.
Oh.
We're stuck in the corner. It was kind of hard. But anyway, so hers was French onion soup, and mine was a Japanese-style curry my mom always made. It was kind of like a stew, but typically it had the rice on the bottom. So we kind of combined the two, and we thought it would be really nice to have a curry on the bottom and then make like a rice, like kind of like the cheese on the top, a layer of rice, so you kind of break through the rice to get to the curry. So just kind of flip the two. So I thought it was good.
Can you guys just introduce yourselves and understand why that sounds so incredibly
Well, so Emily has an amazing dumpling company, Miss Lippy's Dumplings, and yeah, I manage the Carmel by the Sea Farmers Market. Also have a little hacienda hay and feed, so we do some community events and stuff out there, and have the hay and feed store. But we're also part of a thing called The Shop, which is an art incubator in Monterey. And so we opened that up in 2020. And we have a commercial kitchen, how me and Emily met. We have a variety of other food entrepreneurs there. And then we have some artists and screen printers, embroidery, decals, and a variety of other things. But anyways, this. Yes,
Awesome.
We're not a plant. But...
Awesome.
Oh, no,
Well, that was...
There's nothing else to say. Just the shop is very much in line with everything you guys are doing, so come by.
Cool. Excellent. Well, that was a fun little exercise. Thank you all for sharing your dishes. And so, thinking about these various complex cuisines that you all came forward with, and then simplifying and combining. That's a big part of what design is. And we can think about design. I'm gonna set the stage there. We can think about design or simplicity as a design principle. This next little clip is from Eileen Fisher. That name's probably familiar, right? Yeah. Founder of a clothing company. Just wonderfully creative and fun person to talk to. She's going to talk a little bit about simplicity.
Fluidity about these clothes, a certain idea that one should move and eat and dance and all those kinds of things in our clothes. And so because they're so simple, they dress up or dress down. And I think women really like that. They can wear a simple dress and wear it to work or go out, or not take it off when they come home and grab their kids and sit on the floor and throw it in the washing machine. The clothes have that kind of versatility. I think that's important. So we have our principles and ideas of how we design and what kinds of pieces fit or don't fit.
Okay. I'm going to leave you with one last thing before we get to our Q&A portion. That's just to be open and observant as you're walking around and thinking about maybe simplicity and how can we implement simplicity. This was a number of years ago. I was on BART, and I just happened to see this map, which is quite simple, but underneath it, somebody had cut into it, looks like, and you could see the old map underneath, and it was just like, wow, you can't see much of it. Well, let me zoom in. But there's lakes and there's all this kind of stuff that, do you really need to know that if you're on BART just trying to get off at the next stop? So be open to observing these kinds of things and how simplicity is a principle for design, and how organization, as Maida says, makes a system of many appear fewer. Okay, so that's really all I have. We're going to wrap up with one more quick partner exercise, and then we'll do a Q&A. So just for a minute, grab another partner, just tell each other what top takeaway or tool you want to try, and then we may call on one person or so to share out, but we want to move to the Q&A pretty soon. So let's do that for about a minute. Okay, we are basically at the end. We have time for a couple questions.
Time for a couple questions. Anyone want to ask a question? Yeah.
So simplicity then, how do you overcome any tips on overcoming the imposter syndrome that we all have?
What's your name? Yulia. That's when I talk to our students about, and the truth of it is that if you don't have imposter syndrome, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. Seth Godin talks about this too. He talks about dancing with fear, essentially. If you're comfortable in what you're doing, I got up here, I haven't done this for a while. It's been, frankly, probably pre-pandemic since I did more speaking. So I have nerves and all that, a little bit of imposter syndrome, but that's probably a good thing. It means I'm back to challenging myself again and doing something I'm not quite comfortable with. But I think that's the attitude.
Hi, I'm Tally. One of the things that your talk provoked was thinking about creations of systems that include individuals, that include processes, and that include digital tools to automate certain things.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to think about more is how to simplify. So you're trying to innovate, you're trying to create efficiency, but as the architect of that system, sometimes you're very close to it, and maybe it's not as simple as it could be. And so for the humans to shine, to be smart about using the digital tools, and to have a simple process, do you have any tips or thought that include design thinking on how to kind of gut check one's own creative process in that regard?
How to simplify and how to, if I'm hearing your question right, maybe get alignment. If you're working on a team, you want to have these people aligned with you so you can move forward to, build the thing you're trying to build. I think that's actually one of the secret superpowers of design, is that if you involve people early enough in the process when you're building something, if it's a sketch, if you're messing around on ChatGPT, building a prototype, that's another thing that AI is really going to enable, is like very high fidelity prototypes. And that's not always appropriate depending on what you're trying to build at the stage at where you're trying to build it. But bringing people into the process early on, that's often what builds the most alignment, versus coming later to your boss who wasn't involved in the initial sketching and saying, this is what I have. Inevitably, they're going to say, well, why didn't you think of this? Whereas if they were at that first part of the process and they were sketching along with you, they're going to understand like why you got to where you did. Yeah.
Awesome. Eli, thank you so much. Like, wow.
My pleasure.
I mentioned earlier how amazing it is that we have people like Eli around, but then to find out that they're so down to earth and so extraordinarily humble and vulnerable. But thank you so much for pulling this together. It was fantastic. So a couple of shout outs. One is that our next event, Cindy, is unbelievable. She's a world-class violinist. She lives in Corral de Tierra. You'll note that our next talk starts at 11 a.m. Why? Because Cindy practices for several hours every morning. And I said, but Cindy, our event started at 8:30. She said, good to know. Not going to work for me. And so we won't do this very often, but the opportunity to have Cindy here and also performing live is amazing. And so her endurance story is about her journey as an artist, as a musician, building what she's built here, which is Sunkist Mozart, where she does concerts out of her home. There's a long write-up of her in the weekly that Aga wrote, who's maybe left. And so it's amazing to have her. The other thing about Cindy, which I'll say, is that she's probably the most candid social critic of the area that I've met. And hopefully she's feeling comfortable with us and we'll share a lot of those things. It's going to be a Q&A between her and I. We're going to try to recreate in some ways a conversation that her and I had that kind of left me a bit breathless because of how candid she was about the gaps and about the opportunities for our area from a creative and artistic perspective. So it is October 20th at 11 a.m. Okay? She's going to play. Yeah. Here's my ask of you. Please RSVP. And so then I don't have to incessantly check, as what I do every other day, to see how many RSVPs we have. So you can snap that QR code. It's a functioning QR code. We will send this out in the next couple days, but please RSVP. And then, I should probably leave that up because I just asked you to RSVP. Yeah. So that's October 20th. And then our upcoming slate is as follows. So we do have a sense of kind of where we're going here. So I mentioned Cindy. And then we have Zach Weston, who's a newlywed, right? Who is going to be speaking in November. We have the head of the Ohana group at Montage, which is the mental health group for youth, Susan Swick, who is running that whole department, and she's going to be speaking in December. And then in January, we have Meredith, who's sitting over here, and is from our group. So Meredith, we're really excited to have you. Thank you for agreeing to speak. I know you have a lot going on. In addition to running Design Ops Assembly, she's consulting with the New York Times for Design Ops, and so a very busy woman. So we're really appreciative that you're able to come. And so this is the last thing we're going to do is there are some community events that are happening soon. And Sean Perlmutter, who had to leave, he actually gave me this suggestion and said, Danny, you should open the mic up at the end if folks want to talk about what they're doing briefly. So I think there are a few folks, Caroline, I think you wanted to mention it. So I'm just going to walk around. Maybe we'll do like 3 community events and folks can just talk about what they're up to.
Great. Okay, hello. Thank you, Danny. My name is Caroline DePilates, and for like 25 years, I worked in international education, did a lot of things with the college age group people here, international students. But things changed for me, and now I am a proud member working at the Pearl Works, and I want to put a plug in for the Pearl Works, which is just really an awesome place. If you are, remote working, please consider it and talk with Laura there. But I'm also working with 3 other friends, and we all just are excited about travel and culture. And one is a professor at Monterey Institute, Middlebury Institute, sorry, that's dating me. And one is the owner of East Village Cafe, if you know Ryan Lama. And we have been holding some groups, we've been holding something called International Cultural Gatherings Monterey, ICGM. We started a little over a year ago. We're building up momentum. We have an event coming up. We do the first Thursday evening of each month, 5:30 to 7:30 at East Village Cafe. We're doing a Dance Around the World party this time, next week. And if you are interested, I have these little, this is like the low-tech version, but there is a QR code on here, so you can go register too. So see me afterwards. I'll hang around for a while. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, Michael.
California Arts and Sciences Institute. Next Friday night, right here, we're going to do wildfires. Prevention, causes, what we can do about it as individuals, neighborhoods, and also influence our public policy. Be here. It'll be great. Go to CASICalifornia.org, that's CASI California.org, for your free ticket.
Hi everyone, I'm Alora. I am a co-founder of the ProWorks, and we have recently started doing these conversation corners in our space. And so on October 11th will be our second one, and basically we just do potluck style dinner in the space. It's going to be a Wednesday night, and we have tables throughout the space, and we have conversation starter cards. And it's really just an opportunity to meet new people, connect, have some good food, and have unusual conversations, maybe take some walks down memory lane and share some stories about your life and who you are and meet other people. So if you go to thepearlworks.com, we have an events page and we have a little RSVP, so I can send you a reminder, and maybe we have a Google Doc of slightly coordinating the potluck. So it's pretty simple, low key, really easy way of just, if you've had some conversations that you want to continue or go down other exploratory pathways with people, come on by.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Michelle again. And also, PearlWorks is a beautiful space. I'm waiting to have a huge conference there because with all the coolest people. Wait, that's what this is. Oh, we should go. Okay, so the posters that I made for the Paul Hawken talk that's happening at CSUMB with Sustainable Communities of Monterey County is at the printer right now, so I didn't get to bring them. But it's October 24th. Paul Hawken is a New York Times bestselling author. He wrote Drawdown, how to end climate change in one generation. He's going to be an incredible speaker. Tickets are $20, and it's October 24th down at CSUMB. So hope you can make it.
What I'll do is I'll send these links out. I know there's people,
Yeah.
so I'll send these links out.
And it'll be in the weekly and stuff, you'll notice. Thanks. Great.
All right, our last one. Can you introduce yourself?
Huh?
Can you introduce yourself?
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Suzanne Head. I'm not a local, I'm from Brooklyn, but I'm currently an artist in residence at Monterey Glassworks, and we're having a hot sand casting party on Saturday from 6 to 9. So you're gonna take like molten glass and like drizzle it into sand and make stuff. I did not get permission from Al, who owns it, to announce this, but it's happening, and I'm sure you guys can all come. Monterey Glassworks, tickets are on the website, so see you there.
Thank you so much. All right, before we wrap, I just want to ask, if you're not from Monterey, can you raise your hand? Like if you're in from out of, so we have 4 people. It's incredible. Like we started this last month and we have 4 people who are visiting, so it's amazing. And all of you from Austria, right? So it's wonderful. We're gonna wrap. Thank you so much. You can hang out. Thank you to WaveStreet. You guys are amazing. Rhett and Judy, this is incredible. Look at the space. Thank you so much. Thank you to House of 8 Media, Mike and team. Welcome Lucas to the crowd. Wave Lucas. It's like the Letterman show. And all the volunteers. And of course, Eli and Erica and Michelle, we really appreciate it. Thanks everybody. All right.